The tray crashed to the floor, shattering the diner's noisy rhythm. Emily froze, her eyes locked on a crimson envelope nestled among the broken glass. Her name, boldly scrawled across its surface, "For Emily," sent her heart racing. Ignoring her manager's shouts, she picked it up with trembling hands and hurried to the back room. Inside, a note awaited. "I never stopped loving you. Meet me at table 5 tonight at 8 p.m. Emily's world spun. It had been 3 years since Daniel, her fiancé, vanished without a word. Now he was back, or so the note claimed. Could it really be him? The tray slipped from Emily's hands, and the sound of shattering glass echoed through the bustling diner. She barely noticed the commotion around her as her eyes locked on the crimson envelope that had fallen from the tray. The bold handwriting on the front read, "For Emily." Her heart pounded. No customer had handed her an envelope. Where had it come from? Ignoring her manager's irritated calls, Emily snatched the envelope from the floor and rushed to the back room. She ripped it open, her trembling hands pulling out a note. The words made her breath hitch. "I never stopped loving you. Meet me at table 5 tonight at 8 p.m. The note felt like a ghost from her past. 3 years ago, Emily had been planning her wedding to Daniel, the man who had been the center of her world. But one day, without warning, he vanished. No goodbye, no explanation, just silence. She had spent months searching, begging for answers that never came. Eventually, she gave up trying to rebuild her life. Now, after all this time, could it really be him? Emily clutched the note tightly, her mind spinning. 8 o'clock felt like a lifetime away. 3 years ago, Emily's life had been perfect, or so it seemed. She and Daniel had been inseparable, their days filled with laughter, love, and plans for the future. She could still picture his crooked smile as he knelt down on one knee by the lake, proposing with a modest but heartfelt ring. "We don't need much," he had said, "just each other." They had everything mapped out: a small wedding, a quiet life, and dreams of building a family. But all those dreams came crashing down one fateful day. Emily remembered it vividly. Daniel had kissed her goodbye one morning, just like always. But when evening came, he never returned. At first, she thought something terrible had happened. She called his phone repeatedly, went to his apartment, and even filed a missing persons report. But no leads ever surfaced. His belongings were gone, his accounts closed, and it was as if he had vanished into thin air. The pain was unbearable. Weeks turned into months, and Emily was left to grapple with a gaping hole in her heart. The man she loved had disappeared without a trace, leaving her with only memories and 1,000 unanswered questions. The diner buzzed with activity, but Emily barely noticed. Every tick of the clock felt like a thunderclap in her ears. She glanced at the note again. "Meet me at table 5 tonight at 8 p.m. It was 7:45 now. Her heart raced as she wiped her hands on her apron and made her way to the table. Table 5 was in the corner of the diner, tucked away from the hustle and bustle. A single candle flickered on the table, casting soft, wavering shadows. Emily sat down, her hands trembling. She scanned the room, her heart pounding harder with each passing minute. Was this some cruel joke? At exactly 8:02, the bell above the diner's door jingled, and Emily's breath caught. A man walked in, his face partially obscured by a hood. He hesitated at the entrance, scanning the room, then made his way to her table. Emily's pulse quickened as the man stopped in front of her. Slowly, he lowered his hood. Her breath hitched. "Daniel?" she whispered, disbelief and a flood of emotions washing over her. He nodded, his eyes heavy with guilt and longing. "It's me, Emily." Emily's hands gripped the edge of the table as she stared at Daniel, her heart pounding with anger, relief, and confusion. "Why, Daniel?" she demanded, her voice trembling. "Why did you leave me? Do you have any idea what you put me through?" Daniel lowered his gaze, shame etched on his face. "I had no choice," he said softly. "I left to protect you." "Protect me?" she repeated, her voice rising. "From what?" He took a deep breath and leaned closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "The people I worked for, they weren't what they seemed. I uncovered illegal activities at the firm, money laundering tied to dangerous criminals. When I tried to report it, they threatened my life and yours." Emily's breath caught as his words sank in. "So, you just disappeared without telling me anything?" "I thought it was the only way to keep you safe," Daniel said, his voice breaking. "I couldn't risk them finding you. I went into hiding, gathering evidence to bring them down." Emily's mind swirled with emotions, anger, betrayal, and a flicker of understanding. "You should have trusted me," she whispered. "We could have faced it together." Daniel's eyes glistened with regret. I know, I'm so sorry, Emily. Emily stared at Daniel, her emotions a storm of anger and heartbreak. Do you know what it felt like to wake up every day not knowing if you were dead or alive? To wonder if I did something wrong? You left me in pieces, Daniel. His shoulders sagged under the weight of her words. I know, Emily, and I've hated myself every single day for it, but I thought disappearing was the only way to keep you safe. If they'd found out about you, they would have used you to get to me. Her voice cracked as tears welled in her eyes. Do you have any idea how much I needed you? You were my whole world, and then you were just gone. Daniel reached across the table, his hand trembling as it rested on hers. I thought I was protecting you. I see now that I only hurt you more. I never stopped loving you, Emily, not for 1 second. His words softened her anger, but the pain lingered. You made the choice for both of us, Daniel. That's what hurts the most. Daniel's voice broke. If I could go back, I'd do everything differently. Please give me a chance to make it right. Emily sat in silence, her gaze fixed on Daniel as his words hung heavy in the air. A part of her wanted to scream at him, to unleash all the pain she had bottled up for years. Another part, the one still in love with him, saw the torment in his eyes and the sincerity in his voice. You should have trusted me, she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. We could have faced it together. You didn't just leave me. You took away my choice. Daniel nodded, his face etched with regret. You're right, Emily. I thought I was protecting you, but I see now that I was wrong. I was a coward. I should have trusted our love, trusted you. Tears streamed down her face, but she didn't wipe them away. You shattered me, Daniel. I spent 3 years trying to forget you, trying to move on, but I couldn't. You never really left my heart. His eyes glistened with unshed tears as he reached for her hand. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm asking for it anyway. I came back because I couldn't live another day without you. Emily's heart ached with conflicted emotions. I don't know if I can forgive you, but I still love you. The diner's hum faded into the background as Emily and Daniel sat together, the weight of their shared past filling the air. Her heart wrestled with conflicting emotions, love, anger, hope, and fear. Why now? She asked, her voice steady but laced with pain. Why come back after all this time? Daniel exhaled deeply, running a hand through his hair. Because it's finally over. The people who threatened us, they're gone. I worked with the authorities to take them down. It took years, Emily, but I kept fighting so I could come back to you. She searched his eyes, looking for any sign of deception, but all she found was raw vulnerability. And you thought a note and an appearance would fix everything? She asked, bitterness creeping into her voice. Daniel flinched but nodded. I know I don't deserve a second chance, but I had to try. Losing you was the worst pain I've ever felt. I've spent every day dreaming of this moment, even if I knew you might hate me. Emily's chest tightened. The walls she had built around her heart were cracking, but trust wouldn't come easily. You broke me, Daniel, she whispered. If you want a second chance, you'll have to earn it. Daniel nodded at Emily's words, determination flickering in his eyes. I'll do whatever it takes to earn your trust again, he said softly, even if it takes a lifetime. Emily looked away, her mind racing. Part of her wanted to walk away to protect herself from more heartbreak. But the love she had buried for years was still there, fragile but alive. She took a deep breath and met his gaze. This isn't going to be easy, Daniel. I don't know if I'll ever fully forgive you, but if you're really here to stay, I'm willing to try. Relief flooded his face, and a small, tentative smile broke through his sorrow. I'll prove to you that I'm not the man who left. I'll show you I can be better. The clock on the wall chimed, marking the end of her shift. Emily stood, her hand still gripping the note that had brought him back into her life. We'll take this one step at a time, she said, her voice firm but hopeful. As they walked out of the diner together, the chilly night air wrapped around them. For the first time in years, Emily felt a spark of warmth, a fragile hope for a new beginning.